Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of MaloneBailey's official podcast, Everybody Counts. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Raven Fournier, the lead recruiter here at MaloneBailey. Hopefully this isn't your first time tuning into our podcast, but if it is, we are so happy that you're listening in, and we want to give you a nice big welcome. Our podcast, Everybody Counts, features, various topics and perspectives on a variety of different subjects. We cover things from the latest SEC and FASB updates to discussions on recruiting, retention, and more. Everybody Counts really tries to explore trends and hot topics that affect us and those in our business. Tune in to hear from partners and staff alike. The conversation is always versatile, and everybody's input definitely counts. I'm delighted today to be joined by Caroline Rosen, who is the Marketing and Communications Manager here at MaloneBailey. And today we are discussing a very important topic, not only just in the accounting field, but really across the board. Today's topic is focusing on the advancement and retention of women CPAs. So welcome, Caroline.
Thanks, Raven. It's great to be here today. It's a lot of fun for me to be in the interview seat because I'm usually playing your role.
Right.
But as you mentioned, this is a very important topic across the board, certainly in the public accounting profession.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really excited to be talking about this. Part of the reason that we wanted to have this conversation is because there's a great article that a couple of our audit partners authored. It came out in the CPA Journal in their State of the Profession edition, which was in December 2018. So this conversation really stems from that topic. And before we get into it, I do encourage everyone to visit our website. You can find a link to the CPA Journal article in the news section of our website, and it's great.
Yeah,
so
it was a
thanks
great article.
for having me on our podcast
Absolutely.
today.
So why don't we just kind of dive right in? So why is this topic so important, other than the obvious reasons that we all know?
Right. So interestingly, this kind of probably comes as no surprise to those in our profession, but flexibility and public accounting, they don't always go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. And so trying to join the two in a really thoughtful and constructive and effective way is so advantageous to women. Balancing demanding work schedules with the desire to raise a family, it gives rise to this very common challenge that we're seeing in our profession, and that is the retention of women. Right. Now, interestingly, and this is according to a 2017 CPA firm gender study that was performed by the AICPA's Women's Initiatives Executive Committee, women only make up 22% of the partners in accounting firms nationwide.
That's really surprising.
22%. Right. But what makes that statistic so interesting is that studies are also indicating that the number of women studying accounting and entering the accounting field is on the rise. Yeah. So it means that there is this loss of women, or they're not making it up to the partner level for whatever reason it may be. If only 22% are partners.
That's really surprising because, on the recruiting front, I would say I probably meet more women and girls and young ladies in the recruiting front on college campuses than I do guys. So
that's what the studies are telling us, that we are seeing more women studying and entering the field. We also know from a stat that companies tend to lose about 17% of women employees by mid-career. So I think this is telling us that something is happening mid-career. I think we can probably all guess what that might be. But that mid-career point is clearly very vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And so, programs like flexible schedules or working from home and mentoring, they can assist in the retention of women. And of course, we're seeing firms everywhere really paying attention to these areas.
Right.
So, one of the things here at MaloneBailey is our firm is above that 22% average. We have 33% of our firm's partners are female, and nearly 45% of our firm's management team is female, and then 63% as a whole are female.
So that just shows you, that.
So we are above average,
right.
But even though that is the case, this is really a topic that deserves constant care and attention, which is something that we're going to talk about. Another thing with MaloneBailey is that in addition to its gender diversity, 56% of our Houston headquarters staff is non-white. So that includes African American, Asian, Hispanic, and Middle Eastern team members that we have here. So, a lot of that can be attributed to a variety of deliberate efforts that we make that start with recruitment, which I'm sure you can talk a lot about as lead recruiter, but they extend well into retention. And I think we all can agree that a well-balanced cultural mix is really, it's beneficial to the firm's culture, overall, because really a diverse group of talent is needed to effectively address growing complexity that we're seeing in business.
Yeah.
And so this topic of diversity and inclusion, it's a hot topic for every organization today.
And I would definitely completely agree with you that it does. It starts at the recruitment level of trying to find people of all different backgrounds and experiences to bring into your business and your firm. So,
and I think something that we'll talk about a little bit later on is that it's really achieving a well-balanced mix.
Yeah.
Whatever that mix is.
Right.
For a company's objectives.
Absolutely. So going on that train of thought, so what are some of the best practices that you can share with us that have enabled the firm to shine in the area of retaining and improving the advancement of women CPAs, as well as diversity as a whole at the firm?
So the topic of work-life balance, that
right
is...
at the top.
Yeah, and it's a topic that, as I mentioned before, it's constantly under constant review and revision and updating because things are changing.
Yep.
We're seeing things change with new generations coming into the workforce, different values that the different generations might have. There's, of course, been a lot of talk about millennials. But... through a variety of initiatives, we strive for staff at MaloneBailey to experience a tangible and meaningful approach to work-life balance. Yeah. And so whether that's something like a modified work arrangement, flexible work hours, working remotely, these are some of the key ingredients that have offered the right mix for women at our firm, we believe, and really for all staff. But
and I feel like the remote auditing the approach that we offer is really helpful for people who, especially women who maybe love that public accounting work but don't necessarily want to have to travel as much.
Right. And that's not to say travel doesn't exist, because there is a good chunk of work that has to be done, from our client sites. But in addition to all of that, MaloneBailey offers a variety of outlets for its staff to affect change, which can be extremely empowering for staff. And we believe that this is really something that differentiates us from other CPA firms. We have staff that are empowered through participation in various firm committees and robust mentorship and training programs to voice their opinions and to raise concerns and to construct creative solutions that can improve our firm. So it's this constant conversation that I believe has been instrumental in creating really that meaningful and fulfilling work environment. And it's completely paramount to successful outcomes and retention. One of these committees or I should really refer to it as council. It's the Next Gen Council. It was created almost 10 years ago here at our firm. I know.
2010 does not seem like it was almost 10 years ago.
Yes,
yeah, I guess
almost 10 years old. And it was created to explore and understand some of the issues and concerns of tomorrow's leaders, because the great thing is MaloneBailey's management team has always understood that the firm will eventually belong to the next generation. So it's important to see things through their eyes and through their lens. And so, the partner group here really wants to know what matters most to tomorrow's leaders. And this council has been responsible for affecting things, both big and small. Things small, quote unquote, like our coffee machine, what kind of coffee machine we have, but we all need coffee to survive each day. So it might be small, but it's actually pretty big. But to really more truly important and impactful policy changes affecting paid time off, bank time, things like that, and then just really everything in between. And
I feel like that too probably helps with the staff who feel like they get a say. They get to help implement different changes and help the firm grow. So they probably feel like they are being heard, and they're not just a busy worker bee. They get to help make the firm a better place. Right.
And affect change. And I think that's something that you get to experience and actually see more at a smaller firm. So that's truly one of the benefits.
Yeah.
And so those are some of our best practices. We could probably go on and on. Again, they are things that we're constantly looking at, but when we talk about this topic of work-life balance, and especially in an accounting firm where you've got a busy season, taking time off is really important to recharge your battery. Yeah. So we really make an effort to encourage vacation and PTO outside of our busy season, of course, but we understand that things can pop up from time to time. But as summer approaches, one of the fun things that we do here is, as we wrap up with busy season, with the onset of summer, we always decorate one of the massive bulletin boards in our office with a large map of of the world. And over the course of the summer, team members will bring pictures from all the trips that they're taking. We pinpoint their adventures. And we just try to celebrate travel and personal experiences and just simply taking a break. So encouraging people to take that time off. It's important because, like I said, everybody needs to recharge. So, recruiting, going back to recruiting, which is, your area, this also plays an important role. So, and I know you can really speak quite extensively to the topic of recruiting and how it plays into.
So it does. I mean, I think that to get that well-balanced mix of staff that everybody wants, it really does start at the recruitment level. Of course, our firm's approach to recruiting is very strategic, and sometimes it changes from year to year, depending on where we're at and what our goals are. I would say that Houston, being, that our headquarters are here in Houston, Houston is one of the most diverse metropolitan areas in the country. Alone, Houston has 14 major educational institutions, and our firm specifically recruits at about 7 of those, most heavily at the University of Houston and the University of Houston downtown. So, obviously, since the city is so diverse, we see a very diverse mix of candidates when we're out there recruiting for our positions. Now, of course, we don't attribute all of our diversity to recruiting alone. We strive to create an image of inclusivity and acceptance in the workplace. I think that's very important nowadays. And we pride ourselves on staying true to that ideal. It's just very important to keep that foster that experience and that feeling in the workplace. Of the 33 universities that our firm recruits at or posted positions at in the fall of 2018, 20 were in Texas. So Texas is a huge state, and we're able to do a lot of our recruiting there. We attend and host a variety of events at all of these universities, both on and off campus, formal and informal, including career fairs, networking events, fall festivals, office visits, classroom presentations, We've even done things like bowling with accounting organizations. That's just a great way to get to know people on a little bit informal level. But the recruiting process is very extensive, and the variety of all of these events allows multiple platforms to promote our work-life balance initiatives, the mentorship and the training programs that we do, and the opportunities for career advancement at a smaller firm such as us. And of course, our goal is to position MaloneBailey as a firm that students can truly connect with, and one where they see themselves growing and taking their career to the next level. While a firm we're very proud of our efforts, recruiting and retaining top talent remains a challenge, in an area that every firm must deliver constant care and attention. You got to think of it as like a tree. You're constantly watering it and trying to make it grow until it will eventually bloom into this beautiful, huge tree one day. But it takes a lot of care and strategic planning and figuring out what works best.
Right.
So, and I think a few more areas that impact the retention of women have to do with the path to partnership, mentorship, and training. So that's I know you have a little bit more knowledge on that topic. So what can you share with us on these areas, and what does MaloneBailey do?
Yeah, so, going back to this topic of the path to partnership and going back to some of those statistics that we were talking about in the beginning with women only making up 22% of partners in accounting firms nationwide, that's an issue.
Yeah.
So what I can say really and what I want to share about the path to partnership here and mentorship and training is that I think that people will find here at MaloneBailey is that staff encounter the same structured approach as one of the larger global firms, but we do see where appropriate, of course, swifter career mobility. And this is, of course, against the backdrop of ongoing training and professional development programs. We have a really extensive orientation process. We've got a training committee. We have a very well-established mentoring and buddy programs. And these are all programs that are designed to engage staff and keep them plugged into various facets of the firm. On the path to partner, that could really take anywhere from, let's just say on average, 10 to 12 years. We know that the mid-career phase can be particularly challenging for women, especially for those who have plans to start a family. And, we know that there is a drop of women employees as they're entering that mid-career phase. So we make a conscious effort to offer accommodations to women as needed, as requested, of course, to help them over that hurdle of mid-career and really everything that goes into balancing the demands of work with a desire for motherhood.
Yeah.
And so, as I've mentioned before, some of these accommodations include, modified work arrangements or flexible work schedules, and of course the option to work from home when needed. So, one thing we do have a designation here for new moms who are returning to the workplace, who want to breastfeed their infants, for example. So we have a special designation. I think you might know the official name.
Texas-friendly Texas mother-friendly designated work site.
Right.
Yeah.
So we are a mother-friendly work site here, and so we can offer that accommodation to new moms who are returning to work. On the topic of mentorship, it's quite structured here. I will say it's also constantly evolving because we're always trying to improve it and make tweaks. But every employee is assigned a mentor on their first day of work. Typically, we'll find employees' mentors are at least 2 levels above their own. So this is kind of like a skip level approach, if you will. And then, there's a lot of information on this mentorship program, but, that's a great way for people to seek feedback and to seek, thoughts on how they're performing. And then, of course, longer term, more strategic advice on careers as a whole. We have also an informal mentoring system. It's really like a buddy system.
Right.
It's where our entry-level staff are asked to pick a buddy when they start. So the buddy is usually someone who is one level ahead of them, or they can ask just kind of more informal questions too.
Yeah.
So I would say, between our mentorship program, which is formal, and the buddy program, which is a little bit more informal, we've got a lot of bases.
Yeah, I would say so.
Covered. Again, it's constantly evolving, constantly improving. It's never a perfect program. So,
right.
Lots of changes there.
Well, and I think that also plays into, as we always recruit new staff, and the generations, like you mentioned earlier, we're seeing new generations. Each generation looks for different things and wants different things in a mentorship. So that's something you also have to be cognizant of as well, because you can't just keep your mentorship program the same for 20, 30 years.
It's always changing. And I think that both the formal and informal mentorship programs, they really help to instill a culture that encourages open communication and engagement. I think it leads to higher employee motivation and satisfaction. And, staff feel that they've got the necessary resources to, to ask those kinds of questions and to talk through problems with their colleagues. So those resources are available to them here at the firm. And then last thing I'll just comment on very, very quickly is our training program. We have all of our training is pretty much done in-house. Yeah. So if you're a new employee, you're getting about 120 hours of training in your first year. For everyone else, we offer about 80 hours of training each year. So all of your CPE requirements are fulfilled in-house. You don't have to look elsewhere.
Yep.
But we have a training committee, and its purpose is to develop a curriculum on a year-by-year basis to ensure that employees at all levels have training on appropriate topics, both technical and non-technical. And I can't stress how important that non-technical part is. Those soft skills are so incredibly important. And this training program that we have in place, it really plays into the professional development of future partners and leaders. So I think that also paying close attention to the training program in-house is, having a positive impact on everybody that works here and the women that work here too, of course. And then, as you are in your mid-career point, and at that manager point, we have something also that's part of kind of training. It's called the Manager Marketing Initiative. And this is for managers and senior managers, and they have the option to participate. It's a 6-part training course designed to aid in the development of their ability to market and promote the firm, so they can get their feet wet in that area. So
working up to that next level.
Again, this is one of those topics that we could talk about for hours and hours and hours, and there's always more to talk about, and there's constantly things that we're changing, but that's just really a high-level overview. Again, I would encourage anyone that wants the details on some of these programs and best practices to check out that CPA Journal article.
Absolutely.
Online.
Yeah. And I think, like you mentioned, these are all great ways for women who are wanting to keep going in their career but also feel that draw to start a family. And, that's a hard thing to kind of have to choose between. So, I think it's great that a lot of, not only our firm, but a lot of companies out there are spending more time figuring out how to keep these women, because they're all obviously very smart and they went to school for these careers. So to have to stop halfway through because it's just too hard to do both. I think that's a great thing to want to do and to keep those people on. Again, they're great. workers. So I don't know. I think this is definitely something that in the future, we'll just keep studying and figuring out how to best serve that group of employees. So, well, thank you for all of that great information.
Of course.
We're going to switch gears a little bit here to our this or that section. This is where we usually ask our guests a this or that question, and they have to rapid fire answer right off the cuff.
Oh, gosh.
So,
okay.
Caroline, speaking of motherhood with you and your lovely children, do you usually prefer taking them to the aquarium or the zoo?
Oh, well, we love the zoo.
Yeah.
The Houston Zoo is a beautiful zoo. Obviously, our zoo is great in terms of its conservation efforts.
Yes.
So, and it's a beautiful place to go let your kids run and expend their energy, and then hopefully they're tired afterwards. So definitely the zoo.
You know what I always found interesting, too, is that the zoo here in Houston is right in the middle of the Med Center, and you do not feel like you're in the middle of all of these. You can't even see these high-rise buildings. It's just so beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's green, lots of trees. We have a great zoo.
Yeah, we do. Okay, well, great. And then I know we've kind of touched on the coffee subject before, but do you prefer your iced coffees or do you prefer like your hot lattes?
Oh, gosh. Overall, iced.
Yeah,
for sure.
I feel like especially here in Houston, it's so hot all the time.
I do. I think, if I had to choose between the two, iced. Probably.
Yeah, you got to drink it fast though before it melts.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, great. So thank you again for coming out or coming on the podcast, Caroline.
Thanks for having me. I love being in this position of answering the questions.
It's fun.
And, I just can't stress enough. It's such an important topic, yet it's an evolving topic. And, there's never one right answer, and the answer is always changing also. And so we just really try to do our best here to make it easy for those and to allow them to be able to do both, right?
It reminds me of that commercial where I think it's a taco commercial, and it's like they have hard shell, soft shell, and the little girl goes, "Why not both?"
Exactly.
So yeah, I completely agree. Why can't we have both?
Right.
Well, awesome. Like Caroline, mentioned earlier, you guys can check out the full article that was in the CPA Journal on our website under the news section, in the news section. The full article is there, so we go into a little bit more detail there, and then of course you're listening to this podcast, so this is on our website as well. We appreciate all of you out there listening and invite you to check out our website if you haven't already. It's www.MaloneBailey.com for more information about public company audit services as well as some other useful resources that you can find throughout our website. Thanks again, and we will talk to you guys next time.
Thanks, Raven.